Okay, I'm going to take that montage out and just let us be. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, yeah, we are on. So how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic today. Thank you for asking. And how about yourself?
I'm great. Just having issues with my network at my end. It's been flipping.
Tech is
Yeah,
always an obstacle.
yeah, it's been flipping. So it's kind of, but hey, we are here, and I'm so happy to have you here today. And it's been a wonderful time since I started this. Great testimonies helping people from the Bible and from other sources. So today we are here with you on home and beyond. I'm so happy and excited with what God is going to do with your story to change lives around the globe. We're going to be sharing this we are on Facebook, and we're going to be sharing on YouTube, uploading on YouTube when we're done. So, Danielle, I have a privilege to be with you in Life on Fire, a great place to be.
Great
and
place to be.
a great place to be, I'm telling you. So I'm just so blessed and happy that God made it possible that I came across so many wonderful people, extremely wonderful people. And it's been a prayer in my heart, and I think that prayer has been answered. A community where you can actually feel the love, the support,
Mm,
the push, the drive, and people you can relate with, people that have been through what you've been through, experiencing what you've experienced, and you can actually hear testimonies and be blessed. So today we are here. I'll just pass it over to you to just tell us a little bit about you, just a little bit, and then we dive into your story right away.
Okay. Well, I'm Danielle Pomerleau, and I am a certified aroma freedom technique practitioner. So, what I do is I help kingdom entrepreneurs dismantle core limiting beliefs that they created through childhood, through emotional trauma, and through um, any kind of emotional injury. Because sometimes we think trauma is big T, something massive had to happen, but the small stuff is enough to cause us to have limiting beliefs. So I just help dismantle and eradicate them through a very new breakthrough technology in aromatherapy so they can have freedom. And I also always bring in Holy Spirit to help guide the whole entire process for them finding their freedom.
Wow. I've never heard of that. This is the first time I'm hearing of that. I'm just happy and excited with with you having that knowledge and couple it with your testimony. It's just a blessing. So let's go and do this. So you have, I'll say, the way I look at people's story, I never look at them from a negative point of view. I always want to say that whatever God, I won't say God, but whatever life put you through or whatever happened to you happened for a purpose, right? Um, yes, happens for a purpose, and you are always gonna use that to be a blessing to people, or you can just keep it and keep it for yourself. But hey, everything that comes to us, we're in a world of 7+ billion people, right? And always want to think this way: there could be 50 million people that I'm supposed to affect in life with my story. So what I went through, it's for a purpose, right? God didn't just let me go through that to just keep it in my file that, oh, some time ago I went through this. No, God like what Jesus went through, he went through for a purpose. So
Mm-hmm.
you were in a relationship for 19 years. And
Yes.
19 years is long, long time. And there are great things. That's how I always look at it. Like I said, I don't look at it from the negative point of view. I always say there are great things that you went through to come be an impact or to come be a blessing to the world. So we are here to hear about it. And somebody maybe there who is going through same experience or have been through that and like, what next? So let's talk about your story. So tell us a little bit about, everything is always beautiful at the beginning, right?
Yep,
Always,
that honeymoon phase.
I know. Yeah, always beautiful at the beginning. Last time I was talking a little bit about the relationship with Ruth and her husband Naomi and all that. And I talked about when someone is engaged to get married, right? The
Hmm.
excitement, the joy, the beauty, the everything. Everybody is just excited. So every story has
Yeah.
beautiful, at least a little portion of it that is beautiful. So let's hear that beautiful portion of yours. What excited me? How was it when you fell in love? When you came to the what happened? And just a little portion of it to spice this whole thing, right? Before we dive into the real.
Hmm.
Yes, yes, please.
Well, in the beginning, of course, like you said, everything was great. I had not been in many relationships in high school. I was 19 when we got together. He was the manager at the pizza place that I worked at, and I wasn't attracted to him, but he pursued me, but I didn't realize he was pursuing me. Um, and there were some red flags in the beginning, but when we did get into the relationship, like he did send me letters. He moved away and he sent me letters and he sent me cards saying that he missed me and he really enjoyed our time together, and he wished that he hadn't moved away because he thought that there could have been potential for a relationship there, and he was
Mm.
feeling feelings for me. So that kind of kept our conversation going, and then when we did get together, like he would do sweet things, like he would show up at work
Wow.
with matching watches, like his and her matching watches, like just as a gift. And I'd never had anybody dote on me the way that he doted on me. He would show up at work and bring flowers. He would show up on
Wow.
his lunch break to meet me at my lunch break, and bring food unexpectedly, like just
Ooh.
like all the time. It was just like, we never made plans, but he would just show up unexpectedly. And even if I couldn't take a lunch break, he would just stop in and say hi and, wish me a good day.
Wow.
And I remember coming home one time and he had made all these love letters and he laminated them. So each one was like this progression with like pictures of like things we've done in the past, and like kind of like,
Wow.
painting the picture of like how everything was so wonderful, and like, this declaration of his love for me, and then like a letter to me, like painting the future. And he had them like up on the wall, and he had rose petals, and I mean he did
Oh my
lots of.
God, that was lovely.
It was. I've never had anybody show me that I was worth putting in the extra effort for.
Oh,
And I remember driving in the car one day. We would go for on rides all the time, and he played Garth Brooks' "To Make You Feel My Love." And I was talking
ooh.
away, and he's like, "I'm trying to play you a song," and I'm like, "Okay." And then I just kept talking away. He's like, "No, really, listen to it." He's like, "Listen to the words," and I was like, "Oh, he's trying to do something sweet." That was one of the
He
very
was,
first
he
things
was
he did to like tell me that
like
he
he,
really cared about me.
yeah, like he was trying to speak to you through the song, right? Through the
Yes,
wording, the
yes.
wordings of the song. Oh my God, that was so lovely. And it's
Mhm,
always like that. The
mhm.
the beginning is always just beautiful and charming and all that. So
Yes.
Daniel, when did things start going the other way?
It's really interesting because it was a very slow progression. And honestly, like when I think about the whole relationship, it's kind of a blur. Um, I didn't see things happening as it happened. It was very covert. And in the beginning, when we moved to Charlotte together, and we had lived down there for about a year, and took in his cats that he left with his ex.
Hmm.
And one of the cats was having issues, so he had to go to the vet and stay overnight. And he paid the vet bill, but then he came back saying like we owed $200, $200 and something dollars more. So he came to me for the money, and I was like, wait, you already
What?
paid that bill. He's like, no, it didn't get paid. And my gut instinct was like, he is so lying, but he never gave me reason to think that he would ever lie to me. But my gut was telling me otherwise. I'm like, no, like he paid that. So I actually did call the vet to see, and the vet was like, oh no, it's paid in full. So I wrote it down in my journal, and I like kept track of it. And then like there was small things like that, like borrowing to pay money for this and saying like he got behind on his car payment because of something, because he's the one that took care of the bills. And I was just such a naive young girl, because I was 19, he was 24, and I looked up to him because he was the assistant manager of that pizza restaurant, from a young age. And he was, right before he left, the owner was going to give him half ownership of the pizza restaurant. And he had this really nice car that he paid a ton of money down on a down payment. So like I knew that like the picture that was painted to me was he was good with finances, right? And so I let him take over the finances. And so when he said like, oh, we had to do this and we had to do that, he like when we did this thing, like we spent a little bit too much money. So I did the car payment. He's like, I wasn't thinking, because, I just wanted to have such a good time with you. So it was really insidious things like that over the course of time. It just kept going and kept going. And then once our son came into the picture, it kind of escalated more. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So what do you think? I just want to put a question through to you right there. What do you think was his reason for having paid the $200 having paid the bill in full and then asking for $200, claiming it hasn't paid? What came to your mind? What was like, what was he up to? Was it
Well,
like trying to test you to see what you would do, or,
yeah, come to find out, like I really kind of was like, no, like I'm not down for this. But I kept giving him money, and I remember in my journal I wrote down, Danielle, stop being a stupid girl. You're being a stupid girl right now. You know better than to do this. Don't, like, stop giving him your money. Stop believing him. Like, you really should get out now. Like, I wrote that. Like, I found that in a journal years later after I had left him. And I was like, you knew, and you told yourself, and you still didn't listen. But to answer your question, he was gambling. So we lived on the border of South Carolina. Yeah, we lived on the border of South Carolina, and in South Carolina, they had the little jackpot, like, sweepstake places. So there were like these mini casinos, and they were legal because they were called sweepstake places. So he would go after work and gamble, and I didn't know it. And so, yeah, that's what he was doing. And I called him. He finally confessed, and he was like, I need help. I gambled you, because I called him out. And I called him out on spending the money for the cats. I'm like, I called the vet, and the vet said it's paid in full. You're lying to me. So then he came clean. He was like, I've been gambling. I'm so sorry. I need your help. Like, I'm the victim because I have a problem, and you're the person that needs to help me so I don't victimize you anymore, is how he came at me.
Oh, wow. The Bible says that there's nothing new in this life. So everything we're going through, you'll find similar situations. It might not be like, from, exactly what happened, but you will find things like that in the Bible. You find relationships like that in the Bible. And in this live broadcast, we've treated things like cases like David David and Absalom, Joseph and Jacob. We treated Ruth and Naomi and all that. And sometimes you see people hide things in relationship. I think it was his place to come up and say, you know what, I have a problem, and this is my problem. I am a gambler and I need help, right? Just come up front and say, or maybe at the beginning of the relationship. Say, hey, I love you. I want us to spend our lives together, but I have a little cut in my back, right? So I
Mhm.
think it's good for people to always be open at the beginning. So let's hear, when did the whole thing migrate or aggravated to verbal abuse? Did you ever have things like that in your relationship? Because this is home and beyond, and we're dealing with things that happen at home that can affect your beyond, but you didn't let it affect your beyond, and that's why you're here today, to help someone else with your testimony. So let's know what you went through. Did you ever have things like verbal abuses and all that?
Yes, but here's the thing. It wasn't overt abuse. It was very covert. And so with the overt abuse, like, the emotional and the words,
Yeah.
it's coming at you, and that, like, he just said something really nasty to me, or said something really nasty about me, and that's not okay. But then I have the choice to make the action. But with covert manipulation and abuse, you can't really put your finger on it. You don't really, like, notice that it's happening to you, and it's really insidious, and it really chips away at your self-worth and your self-esteem. And so that's what was happening in my relationship. So he was very, very covert about the way he did things. He was very passive aggressive. And
Mm-hmm.
so, stuff like, oh, you're going out wearing that. Well, yeah, like, this is what we're doing. He's like, oh, well, there's going to be guys there, and, like, they're going to be ogling at you. Or and I'm like, I don't care about what the guys are doing, because I'm not there for them, and I'm coming home to you. But it didn't matter. Passive aggressive in the way, like, if I was going to hang out with girlfriends
Mm-hmm.
and, I was getting ready, he would give me the silent treatment. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I'd, like, lean in for a kiss, and he'd be like, and, like, I'd
Oh,
kiss him, and he wouldn't kiss me back. And I'm like, are you upset? Are you mad? And he's like, no, no, I want you to go out and have a good time with your girlfriends. And then he'd watch TV, or, like, so, lots of passive aggressive stuff that has you, like, going internally, going, the way he's acting is telling me he's mad, but his words are not matching up. So
yeah,
there was a lot of that. There was a lot of his words and his actions not matching up. So it created a lot of confusion, which
that's right.
created a lot of self-doubt in me. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and and he would also say things like, yeah, at one time I wanted to get a job at the bank, because I'm like, oh, I could do that. I really like the girls at the bank. And he's like, are you sure? He's like, you're not good with numbers. He's like, I'm not trying to say anything bad or anything. He's like, but you have trouble with numbers. He's like, I don't think that'd be a good job for you. Think about, and he used an example of a friend whose wife had messed up at the bank, but she was, like, super high up, and, like, it cost the company $1 million. He's like, just think if you were to do something like that, and how responsible you'd be. And I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't get a job at the bank.
Oh,
And then it was like, and then it imprinted in my mind, and I believed the lie that I wasn't good with numbers. Right. So then I carried that lie on for years, that I wasn't good with numbers. And he would keep perpetuating that lie by throwing numbers at me. And he was really good with numbers, so he could calculate things quickly. But the way he would do it, he'd be like, Danielle, why can't you do that? He's like, that's easy. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. You're not good with numbers. To perpetuate the lie. So there, I mean, I could give tons and tons and tons of examples of, how he would beat me down slowly with that passive aggressive nature of telling me, like, I wasn't good enough in a compassionate, loving way.
and do you ever think that was like being manipulative?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, passive aggressive behavior is a form of manipulation, because passive aggressive behavior is a form of one, it is a form of control, but also it's a form of people not being able to express their anger. And
Okay.
so
Suppressed
another,
anger.
yeah,
Suppressed
so that's
anger.
it. It's their suppressed anger. And so they do not or cannot handle confrontation. And so they will be passive aggressive. So that's where, like, sometimes, like, sarcasm comes in, or, like, the underhanded comments. So I would get that kind of stuff. But a perfect example of a way that he used his passive aggressive behavior and his inability to express anger, because he was never angry in the relationship. He never showed anger, ever, ever, ever. He was always the calm, cool, collected, everything rolled off of his back. I was the angry one. I was the one always yelling and mad and everything like that. And he would be like, you're like your mom. And he would blame me for my behavior. But what I came to learn is all that anger wasn't mine. Part of it was mine for sure, but not all of it was mine, because he would do things that he knew would push my buttons to make me explode.
Correct.
So he could express his anger. And then
Correct.
he got relief from me blowing up, because he would keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I would blow up. And then when I would blow up, he'd be like, see, you're the angry one. See, I'm the sane one. I'm the one that, you know, holds us all together. I'm the one that doesn't lose it. And then he got to feel that sense of relief. And I didn't get to see this until, you know, like 3 years out of the relationship.
Wow. And you know, you said something like his words and actions did not match up, and that puts you in a state of doubt.
Yeah.
So it kind of make you like you don't really know what you cannot discern what he is up to at the moment or the next moment. So it's kind of like putting you in a place of like conflicting your mind. You're trying to think, is he happy? Is he not happy? Is he saying yes or is he saying no? You know, is he agreeing with me or is he disagreeing with me? So it
Yeah.
kind of puts you in a place where you are confused. You are like, I don't know who is sitting right in front of me or who am I talking to? Is it the right mind person or is it or because if you are say you want to take leave the home like you said and you're trying to give him a kiss to say hi goodbye also, and he's like and then you're not even sure if he's agreeing to your going out or even though he's saying oh yeah you can go but then he's not showing any sign of it.
But here's the thing. It didn't put me in that state of not knowing who he was. It put me in a state of doubting who I was.
You exactly.
Put me in a state of doubting what my actions were and if my actions were correct, right? So he got me thinking that the things that I was doing was wrong and that I was out of integrity. And it did like, yeah, I mean, so like I was the one feeling like I was doing wrong. So what he was doing there by chipping away at my, you know, and having me doubt myself when I would go hang out with my friends was I started to isolate myself from my friends. I started to withdraw because every time I went and did something outside of the relationship, I was made to feel like I was doing something wrong.
Correct.
So I would stop doing things and I'd be like, well, and I would make excuses to be like, well, I want to do something with him instead. Or, and I knew that wasn't true, but it was just easier. And I did enjoy spending time with him. And so, but I knew I wanted more and I wanted him to have friends. And that's another thing with, you know, was the isolation and, they, you know, slowly having you step away from your friends and, they're like being very contradictory of them. I had a friend and he'd be like, and she's great, she's wonderful, and he'd be like, well, I don't agree with the way she thinks, or I don't think that's right. Or so even though she wasn't doing anything wrong, he was painting her in a light to make her seem like her choices weren't appropriate and that I shouldn't hang out with her. But this was all insinuation that I shouldn't hang out with her because she's not making good choices, and you know, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with, right? So and you know, so he's not telling me I can't hang out with her, but he's making the insinuation so that way, you know, I'll come to the conclusion through all the conversations that maybe I shouldn't hang out with her.
Wow. And he didn't have friends like
Nope. No, he didn't have friends. And that's one of the things that I came to find out with covert narcissists is that because they're so insecure, and they feel so empty and worthless themselves, it's hard for them to make connection with people. So on the flip side of that, he did have people that he networked with, and I always thought he was well liked. you know, because I'm like, oh, Ben lets him borrow his skid steer and he barely knows him. And, you know, so-and-so is doing this work for him for free. And they, you know, he barely knows him. Like, you know, he builds such great rapport with people. But once I started looking at it, like, and my eyes were starting to open and that veil was starting to be pulled off, I started to realize that his relationships were ridiculously superficial. They weren't friendships at all. They were just like, he was just using them because he couldn't make the friendship with him. Because I'm like, why don't we go do dinner with these people? I remember trying to get him to do dinner with, you know, this couple that he was friends with, you know, I was friends with. He liked them. It took me 3 days, and literally I banged my head. I mean, I was banging my head on the hot tub cover going, why won't you just answer me? It's a yes or no. Do you want to have dinner with them or not? It's not hard. Why are we're in this conversation for 2 hours. I just lost it. I lost it. We've been having this conversation for 2 hours, and all I want to know is, do you want to have dinner with them, you know, in 4 days? It took me 3 days to get an answer out of him, and finally he did. He said yes, and when I went to dinner with him, we went over to their house. It was so mortifying because he did not engage them at all. He sat on his phone and was on his phone, like, it was so uncomfortable, like, because it wasn't his idea and these were my friends more than his friends. He was pulling a control piece by not engaging them to show his disapproval that I made him go to dinner with them. And so he was on his phone, sitting at the dinner table, and while we were like prepping the table and stuff, like, he wasn't like talking to them. He literally like sat there and pretended to fall asleep while these people were trying to engage him. It was mortifying. It was mortifying. This was like at the end of the relationship after I had left him, but I was still being pulled in, and I was still being like hooked and drawn back in and thinking like I wanted to work it out with him, even though I knew in my heart of hearts I didn't, because I hadn't for years. But he kept pulling me in, and snaring me in.
Wow. Before I come back to you personally, you talked about losing control, like losing control of yourself, like he had control over you. Can you share something a little on that too? What did
Well,
you experience? And because somebody may be there and it's happening to them and they are not realizing it, you know, it, like you said, you might not even know that this is happening to you.
exactly. You might not even know. It's such a slow decline
Yes,
that you start to lose who you are, and you
yes,
start to have your identity in them,
yes.
and that coupleness. I mean, and you know, like, when you are in a relationship with somebody, you do have your identity, they have their identity, but you also have your identity as a couple.
That couple, great.
I just kind of lost my identity as who I was outside of him. And you know, feeling like I could do things that I wanted to do on my own to make me happy, because I needed to do things that were just going to keep him happy, because he was in such a self-love deficit that you know, we would have these conversations about him feeling this emptiness and me trying to convince him on how to fill it, and he just being drug into it, but losing control of really having any decisions. Had me to the point where I couldn't make a decision on my own. I had to consult him. And it wasn't he never ever told me, like, you can't do that, but he did
Mhm.
it very insidiously. Like, for example, back in the day when, was it Napster was the thing, you know, downloading the music. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we can have music on our computer. This is so cool. I don't have to, you know, get it off the radio. So I was downloading music off of Napster, and you know, that brought me joy, and he saw that and he didn't like that. So he would tell me I needed to stop downloading music off of Napster because it was getting viruses on our computer, and at the time we only had one computer, and we needed the computer for work. And so, but he was downloading music, and he continued to download music, and he's like, well, I know how to do it and you don't. And I'm like, well, teach me. And he's like, you don't understand computers. It would just be too complicated. And I'm like, but I want music. And he's like, well, just ask me and I'll do it for you. But when I would, he wouldn't do it. So, so like that very insidious like cycle, right? So then like I'd do it anyway. And I'm like, well, forget that. I'm going to do it. And then he'd come back and be like, we've got it. He would see that I downloaded music and he'd be like, we have a virus again. I told you not to download music. And I'm like, well, I asked you. And he's like, well, I can help you. Then he would help me, right? So he'd solve the problem right then and there. He'd download a couple just to placate me and then be like, oh, well, I have other things to do. Let's do this later. And never get back to it. And if I did, he would make it seem like I was inconveniencing him. So it was things like that. So there was another example too, and this is the biggest example, where if I wanted to buy something, I had to consult him first, not because he controlled the money, but because he could get a better deal. And we were all about saving money. And so if I bought something and I didn't get a good deal, I was chastised for it. He's like, why didn't you come to me? You know I could get a better deal. Every single time. And it was just like, well, I can't buy anything because he'll get the better deal anyway. And he usually did, but that really wore away at my decision making. So I couldn't even trust my own decisions at all. At all. I couldn't even trust my own thoughts.
If I'm understanding you, it's like someone stealing your personality, stealing you out of you, right? And then leaving you empty, and you are living in them. So they make choices for you. They choose what is good for you. They choose what kind of friends are good for you. But that's not a relationship. That's like a father and a daughter, because that's what parents do for kids, right? That's what you do for your child. This person is not going to help you in school. This is not good for you. It's like, you know, it's not a relationship anymore. It's not a mutual relationship when things go that way. And of course, everything has a beginning and an end, because there was a point that you started getting clarity of what was happening. You're like, oh, hold it.
Yeah.
I'm not living my life anymore. I'm not even the wife. I'm not even this person. And you know, sometimes it could be a wife doing this to a husband. So it could be the other way, right? So I'm not able to make choices for myself. And when that happens, you become like a toy or a child in the hands of the spouse, which is not right. So there's something you said which I just picked out there. You talked about him having self-love deficit, and that is just so key to people with this kind of attitude in relationships. So what did you notice to kind of conclude like, oh, he's lacking self? And you know, when this happened, they want to get that love from you to fill up the gap. You know, that is not, yes, they want to take your self-love for yourself to fill up the self-love that they lack. And that's where the manipulation comes in, you know, trying to make you feel like you're not supposed to be happy. If you want to be happy, I'm supposed to make me happy, right? So you can't be happy on your own. You have to do things to make them happy. So what did you find out what happened that he had this problem of self-love deficit, maybe some childhood problems or anything? Did you ever try to find out what happened to him?
Here's the thing. He refused to talk. It was almost impossible to have a real conversation with him. Anytime I would try to have a conversation that was beyond superficial or beyond like to dig in, it was crazy making. It really was crazy making. He would continue to go off loose. He would never, and this was with like anything, regardless of whether it was talking about him or anything else, refused to talk about the situation at hand, to dig deep. And so no, but he would tell like these stories that were really superficial, like, you know, one time I was left with my pastor, and all I remember is like I was just crying I was in my pajamas and I was just crying really bad and saying I wanted to go home and I wanted to go to my mom and my dad, but I didn't know why. And honestly, looking back, I think he wanted me to tell him that he was sexually abused because he couldn't say it himself. Because he told me that he told another girl the same story after we separated, but we were still enmeshed. That it was his friend, and they were having a conversation about it. And he told her about it, and she had pointed out to him that, do you think that maybe your pastor sexually abused him? So he's like, I think I was sexually abused, as if it was like this big epiphany the whole time. I was like, well, duh, of course you were sexually abused, but because he wouldn't bring it up and say it, I was like, well, I'm not going to say it for him. So until he's ready, and I was, emotionally immature too throughout that relationship, because I didn't have, like the healthy boundaries weren't there. And so it was just this craziness. It wasn't until after I left, that I started to really grow and learn and all that. But yeah, so I do believe that it stemmed from that as well, along with the unhealthy boundaries in his parents' relationship, even though they seemed to have a decent relationship. When I look upon it, it's very, very dysfunctional, even though it presents as okay.
Oh, so definitely there's always an underlying cause of behaviors like this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the reason, that's the key point of this program, this live broadcast, this show, because like I want us to move over to him, right, for a little bit. He's growing up, he's upbringing and all that. So you notice that there was something that happened to him, and as a child, let's say, yeah, he thinks he was sexually abused by his pastor, and that happened to him, or maybe in the pastor's house, because he said he was left with his pastor. And then he never had the opportunity to resolve that with himself. There was no maybe a program or someone that came to him to like help him drop that thing in the past. Because Home and Beyond, this show, Home and Beyond, the key message is, don't let what happened to you in the past go all the way to the future with you. It goes beyond the home with you into the future, because it's going to affect you. And that's exactly what happened to him. Because something happened to him when he was a little boy. He was sexually abused by his pastor. I guess nobody confronted the pastor. Nobody tried to heal him from that. And so he carried that into his relationship with you.
Well, even worse, not only did no one like confront the pastor, the wound is even deeper because his mother brushed it off when he went to tell his mom that he did not want to be with the pastor, that he was scared of the pastor, like that he, and he told his mom like he felt like something happened, but he was like having a block. His mom was like, oh no, that didn't happen to you. Like, she denied his reality. She flat out denied his reality, and then said he's a good man. He takes care of all these kids all the time. They're not coming forward saying anything, so it must not have happened to you. So that's adding insult to injury on, in the mother wound. So yeah. And he continues to perpetuate the same thing, where with the covert manipulation part, is he would deny me my reality in our relationship. So when I would, it got to the point where near the end, when I was really starting to figure things out, and I was starting to try to figure out who I was in this world and where I belonged, and God was really pursuing me. I didn't know he was pursuing me at the time. And my ex saw that he was starting to lose control of me. He started denying me my reality. He tried telling me that I saw my son vaping. I mean, I literally was in a car looking at my son standing outside of his work, and he was vaping. And then I saw my ex pull up in his car at the gas station next door, because he likes to get drinks there. And I was in a very bad predicament with my son. He was estranged from me due to all the triangulation and everything that happened in our relationship, everything that happened with the ex. My son believed my ex because he painted me as the bad one, and it caused issues. That's just a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But anyway, he tried to deny me my reality by saying, I said, our son is vaping. I'm watching him do it right now. And I couldn't say anything to my son at the time. So I texted the ex, and the ex says, I'll talk to him about it. And I'm like, please don't text him. Please have a face-to-face conversation with him. Well, he texted him anyway. And then he texted me back 25 minutes later and said, no, our son says it wasn't him. It must have been somebody else. And I believe him. And I said, no, it is him. I'm looking at him right now. And what I'm hearing is you're trying to tell me that a mother does not know the face of his son. And he says, I don't know what to tell you, but our son is telling me that he is not vaping. He doesn't vape, and I believe him. Yeah, and I'm like, and that, I mean, that is a clear example of it didn't matter that I was, I was in my car 20 feet away from our son. Didn't matter. He denied me my reality, and he did that often. That was a really blatant example of doing it.
And I'm just going through all this, like what his mom did to him, kind of like shut him up and silenced the wound that was in his heart. Like, healing it's like there's an underlying wound. You're trying to soothe it, try to make it soothing and shut. And that is what I just want to say this. If a mother is watching this or is ever going to watch this, please listen to your kids and listen good.
Yes, believe them.
Believe them. Listen to your little children and listen keenly and believe them. It will be hard for a child. It's difficult for a child to just come lie about an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Like that takes a lot of courage for them to say that.
Yes, and especially a pastor. A child cannot just come and say, I feel something happened with me in the pastor's house. And a mother, you're telling the child, oh no, he's good, this is blah, blah, blah. And look at what happened. You have destroyed generations to come by letting an unhealed child grow up unhealed and become a father unhealed, and is replicating. Now, exactly what the mom did to him to like make him not believe himself is what it did to you. Trying to make you not believe yourself.
Yeah.
How can you tell a mother that I'm 20 feet away from my son that is not your son? I mean, it's like telling the person, oh no, don't worry, you don't know your son, It's just manipulating, and it's not healthy. They should be giving attention. They should be listened to. I don't care if it's a pastor or a president. A child is talking about somebody, please pay attention and try to find out what happened.
And another thing I'd like to add to that is if you are not yet a mother and you plan on, your desire is to be a mother in the future, or you have young kids, I just implore you to work on your wounds. Because one of the things that I can recognize, and I also recognize in rearing my son, I did the same thing to him, is I dismissed some things like bullying. I didn't dismiss it, but I didn't know how to deal with it. So I didn't dismiss it to him, but I did not take care of it because my wounds of when I was bullied and I did not know how to confront it because it triggered all that stuff from the past. And I felt like that girl back in middle school. I felt like that girl back in high school, and I felt like I had no control and I didn't know how to deal with it. And therefore, I didn't know how to address it with my son. And so those wounds perpetuated in him as well. And so, and so you can see with the story with my ex, like how those wounds are perpetuated with him. So talk to a therapist, get a coach, get somebody who deals with trauma, get somebody who does different kinds of techniques that are Christ related, that deal with the subconscious in helping eliminate the core limiting beliefs in those core wounds. Because you'll thank yourself for it. Your marriage will be better off for it, and your kids will thank you for it, and your grandkids will thank you for it, even if they don't know, right?
Nice.
Like, yeah.
Oh, this is so loaded. This is just too much. It brings out the essence of this show clearly. Seeing a little child denied his claim or his complaint, his right, and then let him grow to an adult, and then he's doing the same thing. And sometimes they don't even realize what they're doing.
No, and a lot of it I do believe is unconscious on his part. I
Yes.
really do.
Yes, they don't realize that that is who they are being to another person, exactly what was done to them. And I think parents should be held accountable for things that happen to kids like this, because your child can't come to you and say, I don't want to. Why should a child refuse to go to a pastor's house? You should ask yourself as a mother, but this is
Mm-hmm.
the pastor's house. This is a place that everybody wants to go to. Everybody should want to go to, right? How is
Mm-hmm.
my own child resisting this? You should be
Yeah.
able to think as a mother and say, wait a minute, something must be happening. This child cannot just come up and say, I don't want to go to the pastor's house anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As a mother, you should be able to, ask yourself, but what is going on? Something must
Yeah.
not be right somewhere.
Yeah, and sometimes they can't even articulate it because children don't
Exactly.
have the ability to articulate it, so it will come out in behavior.
That's
So
right.
they might they might be freaking out like when Aunt Susie comes and they're just like they act out. Try to watch the body language. They might not be articulating it, but they're telling you in a different way that something is bothering them. Something is going on that you're not aware of because they don't know how to say it.
That's right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it bounced back on you getting to know him as an adult because he wasn't healed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Yeah.
what you said, if you're single and you're anticipating marriage, heal yourself, get yourself treated, deal with your wounds. And some people may never think they have a wound. People like to overlook things. Now, oh, it happened in the past, I'll get over it. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, 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 no,
Or
no,
they
no.
think they've already dealt with it, but they don't
They've
realize
already
how
dealt
many
with it.
layers. There's so many layers.
Correct. They've already
Mm-hmm.
dealt with it. And this is what Home and Beyond is saying. You
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with it. You can't cover it up. Like the other episode we did, we were saying, talk to somebody, talk
Yeah.
to anybody, just talk. And sometimes people feel, if I tell this person, he might also take advantage of me. Well, if that's the only person you have, I'll say, still tell the person. Just air it out. It might scare
Mm-hmm.
the hell out of them saying that, oh, this person did this to you, and you're saying it. If they do to you also, you might also say it, right? And
Yeah.
so it's just, and this is all over the world. This is
Mm-hmm.
happening over the world.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look at time, and I'm so happy because as you were telling your story, you're trying to give a solution on what people can do because you've been there, right? You've been there, and you experienced all this. So you talked about gaslighting. Somebody may not know because I heard that word for the first time from you. Gaslighting. Can you explain a little bit on that so someone can know if that's what is happening to them, please?
Oh, yes. So gaslighting is a term that I had never ever heard of. It was something that was happening to me and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was like, what in the world is this? Until I was listening to a podcast and I was like, oh my goodness, that's what was happening to me. So gaslighting, what that is, it's a form of psychological abuse where the person, or even like a group, makes someone question their sanity or their perception of reality or even their memory. So they often have you feeling confused or anxious and unable to trust yourself. So it's that form of like denying your reality. So like here's a perfect example of it. You have a conversation, and this is an example from my life. My ex wanted to get my son a dirt bike, but he wanted to get him a racing dirt bike. And I told him, don't get him a racing dirt bike. Get him one of these because he has the need for speed and he needs to practice first to get responsible. And he's like, well, I'm not going to get him a dirt bike anyway. And I'm like, oh, that's what it was. It was responsibilities. He wasn't showing responsibility and he was being very negative. I'm like, use the dirt bike as a reward for the responsibility, but don't give it to him because he's constantly giving him all these, like, that's one of the ways he bought his love. And I'm like, stop doing that. We can get him the dirt bike when he's starting to show responsibility. And he's like, well, I'm not going to get him a dirt bike anyway. Well, I go onto his computer and I see that in his history, and this is a whole other side topic we can get into about how like the crazy making will make you do things that you don't normally do. I went into his computer to see what he was looking up, which is something I would never do before. And he was looking up dirt bikes. So I was like, what the heck? And so I talked to my son. I'm like, hey, have you and Dad been talking about getting a dirt bike? And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, Dad said he's going to buy me a dirt bike and it's going to be this and da, da, da. I was like, oh, okay.
But he
So
told you.
anything. And then he was standing in the window and he was looking down and he said it. He admitted to himself. He said, he was looking down. He's like, oh, you know, Zach can't do this and he can't do that and he won't follow through on this and he's just not responsible. And he said, so, you know, I'm not going to get him that dirt bike. And I looked at him and I said, what dirt bike? And he was like, no dirt bike. He's like,
Oh,
I didn't say that. And I was like, no, you just said you're not going to get him that dirt bike. He's like, I didn't say that. And I'm like, yes, you did. And I said, and I know that you said it because I'm not crazy. And two, I talked to Zach and you talked to him yesterday and you showed him pictures of the dirt bike you were going to buy him. So you just verified, you're telling on yourself. And he's like, I didn't say that. He's like, you heard something. He's like, I would like to get him a dirt bike, but he's not responsible enough. And you and I have talked about it. So he tried to turn it around and make it seem like I didn't hear what I heard. So that's a form of gaslighting when they try to change the story and tell you that you didn't hear what you heard or you didn't have that conversation or he didn't actually say that. That's a form of gaslighting.
and if you're not careful, you're gonna believe what he's saying. That okay, maybe I didn't hear, and then make you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like taking somebody's sanity out of them.
Yeah.
Taking your.
Gaslighting is very insidious, and it is very insidious and it's very dangerous.
Because I'm just overblown with all this because this is just the heat of it. So let's hear how I know you already gave a lot of counseling in the course of talking, how people can thrive out of this manipulative, and another word I heard from you was the covert, what is it, covert what?
Covert narcissist. So
narcissist, yes.
I've never heard of covert narcissist until after I left him and I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, something was happening in this relationship and I needed to figure it out because I knew I wasn't crazy because I was beginning to think I was a narcissist. I was beginning to think that I
were the narcissist.
That I was the narcissist because I was all about trying to be a good person and all the self-help and self-development and I'm reflecting in and doing this and I'm like and I was starting to convince myself I was the narcissist because he was feeding it to me and I'm like, I know I'm not. So I was really diving down these rabbit holes and then when I came I was like, he's not a narcissist. He can't because he's not overt. He's very introverted and he's shy and he doesn't do grandiose things and he'll give you the shirt off his back and he's so kind and all this kind of stuff so when I delved down the hole, I found this podcast and I went in head first. Her name was The Little Shaman and she talks about narcissism and I'm like, there were certain things that were him that I could pick out behaviors, but I'm like, that's not him. He's this and this and this. And then finally she talked about the covert, the shy narcissist and all the examples of what they do. And I was like, oh, that's it. He did that to me. He did that to me. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. So it's a whole underground. And the covert narcissist is way more dangerous than the overt narcissist because you can see the overt narcissist and what they're doing and go and still prey to them. But the covert, you're sliding in under the radar and you're making excuses for them and you're going, but there's good people. And that, in the end, when I was leaving him, I literally thought I was dying and I couldn't understand and I couldn't comprehend why I was leaving him because he was such a good person. And he sent me to New York for the summer and paid for it because, I missed my family and he did all these great things for me. Why couldn't I love him? And why wasn't this relationship working out? And then when I was going down those rabbit holes, I realized he had convinced me he was this great person, but really he was doing all that stuff to make himself feel better about himself because when he did good things for people, he got that dopamine hit to be like, see, I am worthy. I can do good things. So he was a yes man, say yes to everything, put us on the back burner and go help everybody and always over deliver, always helping everybody and not being there for us As
Hold it
the
right there. Please hold it right there. And you know, this is I don't even know what words to use because this happens a lot. It happens a lot. They are busy, from what I'm hearing, they are busy building not even a relationship, but uh, um, a kind of personality with other people, trying to make people, giving an impression. I think that's the right word. Giving an impression to other people of how good they are. Meanwhile, their closest, their loved ones are suffering.
mm-hmm,
You know, and I see
mm-hmm,
that happens a lot. You're doing everything to people just to impress people, try to
mm-hmm,
make people feel you're this great dad,
mm-hmm,
this great mom, this great husband, but yet your immediate family are not getting the effect of your
mm-hmm.
love. What you're
Yeah.
trying to, yeah, what you're trying to present out there, right? So it happens a lot, and people should just, you know, even the Bible says, where it says, you they cannot take care of your home, you're worse than an infidel.
Mm-hmm.
You're worse than an unbeliever. So the people that should talk about your love and how great and good and super mom and super dad that you are should be your loved one first. And I believe that should be the ones that you are close to, your loved ones, your kid, like what the mom did to her, to him, you know, and he should be the one to say, my mom is great, my mom is this, my mom listen to me. I don't want to believe that that mother might make people feel, like you said, they make the people feel like they have a great relationship, meanwhile it's all sick, it's
Yeah.
just sick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they want, and I'm just saying this, you know, stop pretending outside and make people feel you are this great dad and mom and husband and wife when your immediate loved ones don't even get to see you, don't even get to get a taste of your love, and you're trying to bring something out there when it's not in the home, you know. And that's just what makes, there are parents also like that. They make the people feel that they're great, you know. They love other people's kids. They buy gifts for other people's kids, go to their birthday parties, and
Mm-hmm.
their own children never get anything. Did you ever experience something like that with your child in
Yeah.
him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, my sister, I'm just so blessed. I want to say that I see people writing all that. If you have a question, you can pop it on the chat section for our wonderful woman of God here, Danielle, to answer. As we are dealing with relationship and all that, she's saying we're about to round up with over past time because this is just so great.
There's so much more we could delve into. There's just
I
so
know
much
so much
more.
more, but I'm sure that you're gonna come back, please, and help people,
Mm-hmm.
help the world. So I just want to believe that you're
Yeah.
going to book another appointment. And we're saying this is Home and Beyond again. We didn't have time to just go on a little break because what she was saying was just key to the point, all about this show. And I didn't want to just break her flow for any reason. So we didn't have any break. But hey, I want to believe that she's going to come back. And please, if you have questions or maybe you're experiencing this or you know somebody that is going through something like this, right? Write a question out there that you can take the answer and go tell somebody else. You know, like we talked about the husband that was the ex that was abused by a pastor, and the mom could not believe the child, and now he grew up to be this person that is just, and he thinks he's doing right. You know, he doesn't see a
Mm-hmm.
problem with himself,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
you are the one suffering. Your kid, the children are the ones suffering. The wife is the one suffering. So
Yeah.
to round it up, because I know you have another appointment, I don't want to keep you overdue. And how did you finally start getting yourself out of it? Not necessarily out of the relationship, because I know you got out of the
Mm-hmm.
relationship. It was you couldn't handle it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how did you start getting yourself, like getting yourself back, because it's like he took away your identity, right? So how did you process all this to start realizing it? What, let me put it this way, somebody is going through what you went through. What is
Mm-hmm.
your final word to encourage and help them to thrive out of this so it doesn't affect them in their future? What will you say?
I'm going to put you on pause for a second. I have to plug in my computer because it's about to die.
Okay, great. I hope mine is plugging too. I hope you don't get hurt and it don't die. Computer.
So it was a long process. It took 3 years because I was highly enmeshed with him. But one, I had good friends that listened to me and would like went through me with my victimhood. Because even though I thought I was out of my victimhood, I was still tied to it. But they just listened without judgment, even though they were probably super frustrated and went through, I mean, 3 years of like being enmeshed with him, even though I left and moved out. I'm sure they were probably banging their head against the wall, but having good friends that are just going to be there for you. I had two very good friends that were there for me. But I learned something called the gray rock method. And the gray rock method means no contact. Now, here's the thing. I did have a son with him, so I couldn't go no contact because we shared custody and had to have conversation. But one of the things that I realized that helped out tremendously, even though I desired it so deeply in my heart, and I kept trying, knowing that I shouldn't, but I finally said, okay, enough is enough. Can't co-parent with a narcissist. It's not possible. And no matter how badly you want to, for the sake of your child, that's one of the reasons why you had issues to begin with, because they wouldn't co-parent with you. So just having your set of rules at home and sticking to your set of rules and just trying to guide your children, and letting them know, like, yes, we have two separate set of rules, but that's not going to change. Like, in holding those boundaries, like looking up healthy boundaries and learning what healthy boundaries were, and then practicing them on safe people helped out tremendously. And I will tell you that if you are trying to get out of an abusive relationship, it's gonna escalate before it gets better. They're gonna escalate it because they're just desperately trying to hold on to you, and they're gonna try any method they can. I just like going no contact, even though it feels like you're hurting them even more or you're hurting yourself even more. Like, if you're in that abusive relationship, that is the best thing you can do for yourself and for your children, for the most part, especially if your life has been threatened. Find safe avenues to get out. But yeah, looking up healthy boundaries, listening to a lot of YouTube videos about healthy boundaries, and learning about what the type of abuse you're going through, and finding those examples, and then finding a community of people that have gone through it. I wouldn't suggest finding a community that's going through it, because sometimes what happens is they're still in their victimhood, and you probably are too, and then you get caught in that victimhood, and that's your story that you're staying with, and you want to get past that. So you need to find people that have already gone through it, that can say, yes, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm an example. You have that too. Like, I am your hope. Hold on to my hope until you can have it for yourself, right? And find people that that you can look to them for hope.
Wow. I'm trying to put down in word, in text, all what you say, but I couldn't get it all. I couldn't get it all, so somebody can look at it and But hey, I am super excited to have you here. I don't even know how to thank you, but I just believe that somebody is just blessed by hearing this. Because I myself, guess what? I didn't know so many things. You have like gaslighting, covert. Is it covert? How's this spelled? Is it covert? COVET? Did I get it right?
Yes,
Great.
covert.
Okay.
Yes.
Narcissism is
Narcissism.
yeah, I never heard about that. But in the course of explaining, I could identify a lot of things, that because I do a lot of reading and I'm in a relationship too, right? So a lot of things just keep playing as you're breaking down these words. And I would say that a lot of people that are going through things like this, and they don't even know how to describe what they're going through. And I'll cut it long short. I'm just going through hard times in my relationship. It can be killing. We are not promoting divorce here. We are not saying that's the end of it all. We are just bringing out people that have that, like yours ex was abused as a child, and the parents didn't listen to his complaint, and he grew up to now abusing other people without even knowing that that's what he's
Mhm.
doing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the world needs to be healed. And how can we heal the world? It's
Yeah.
testimonies like this, and how people can handle things if they find themselves in such places. So I know you are having another appointment. I just want to thank you for coming on this show, and I want to promise. Should I promise them that you're going to come back?
Yeah, I would love to come back.
Oh, great, great. So when we talked about off air, we talk about it when we're having you again. But I just want this to keep flowing, and I want to thank you so much. Can you please say a prayer for anybody that is going through this or might listen to this, watch this video later on? Can you just say a word of prayer for them, and let the Lord who saw you through see them through, please?
Oh, most certainly.
Let's do it.
Oh, dear Lord, thank you so much for being with us today
Yes,
on
Lord.
this broadcast, Lord. Thank you for bringing all the information forth that people needed to hear today. And Lord, I pray that the ears that need to hear this message,
Yes,
whether they were on live, but need it in the replay, Lord, let them find the link for this. Let them hear the words that are going to pierce their heart to lift the veil off of their eyes
yes,
so
Lord.
they know what they might be going through is abuse, Lord. Let them see that if they're feeling in their gut something is off, that
Mm,
that veil is lifted and they know that there is something off and that it's not healthy and that
mm,
they can get help and that they are not crazy. Let them know there's
mm,
nothing wrong with them, Lord, because they are whole and they are perfect in you in the way that you created them. And Lord, let them seek you and let them seek guidance from you and let them hear the guidance you are giving them in that relationship for what is best for their specific situation.
mm.
Lord, I thank you for working through Adela in this ministry. I thank you for her connecting us together so we can help lift up and raise up women and children to help heal those wounds from childhood, Lord, so they won't perpetuate and
Hmm.
keep generations going. Lord, help us break those generational curses through this broadcast and
Mm.
through future broadcasts
Yes,
with
Lord.
whoever Adela brings on, Lord. I thank
Mm.
you for
Yes,
being
Lord.
the gracious and loving God that you are, Lord. And I thank you for every one of the listeners that get on here, that hear every word, and that gain any nugget that helps them, Lord. I thank you in Jesus' name,
Yes, Lord.
Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well,
Amen.
then I'm just so happy. Thank you so very much for coming. And we just want to assure everybody that she's going to be back. We'll pick up from where we left off or things that we skipped. We're going to try to bring everything, together so people can be blessed. Once more, thank you so much, Danielle. I was so blessed having you with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a privilege and a blessing. So I'll see you again. Bye, everybody, for
Be
now.
blessed.
Yes, thank you.